Hello and welcome back to another demonstration video. In this video, we're going to be looking at exercise 6-5, which is a volume trade-off decision. Okay, I am on page 312, and again, that is exercise 6-5. Okay, so please make sure you have the book open and please follow along as we go through the problem. Right. So what we have here is an Outdoor Luggage Incorporated. They make high-end, hard-sided luggage for sports equipment. Okay, we have they make ski guards. Usually helps if you can spell. They make ski guards. They make golf guards, and they make fishing guards. Okay. They provide us with the selling price per unit, the variable cost per unit, and then they tell us, hey, for the plastic injection molding machine processing time required to make 1 unit. Okay, they tell us it takes 2 minutes It takes 2 minutes on the machine to make a ski guard, 5 minutes on the machine to make a golf guard, and 4 minutes on the machine to make a golf guard. Okay, our problem is that we have a constraint, right? Meaning we have a bottleneck. That plastic injection molding machine is our, that's our bottleneck, right? We only have 1 machine. We can only produce so much. Okay. Now you might be saying, well, why not just buy an extra machine, right? It's a valid question, but unfortunately, we can't. Okay. In the real world, there might be some issues where maybe they're having some liquidity problems or some cash flow problems, and maybe the company cannot secure a loan to purchase a new machine. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to decide which one of these should we produce the most of, right? Meaning, which one, whether it be a ski, golf, or fishing guard, which one should we produce that gives us the most bang for our buck, so to speak, right? Which one provides us with the most contribution margin per the constrained resource? That's what we need to figure out, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to go through each of those products, ski, golf, and fishing guards. We're going to calculate what the contribution margin is for each unit of a fishing guard, a golf guard, and a ski guard. Then we're going to basically calculate the contribution margin per unit of the constrained resource. And again, that constrained resource is that plastic injection molding machine. Okay? So, as you could see in the book, the selling price for the ski guard's $200, golf guard's $300 selling price, and the fishing guard has a $255 selling price. Okay. Now, the variable cost per unit for the fishing guard is $60. Golf guard, it's $140. And the variable costs that are associated with making one fishing guard unit is $55. Nothing new here. You've seen this a million times before. All we got to do is calculate the contribution margin per unit. To do that, you take the sales, you subtract out the variable cost. So we get a $140 contribution margin just for the golf guard. Okay, we're going to do the same thing for the golf guard and for the fishing guard. Now, just by looking at the contribution margin, and we've talked in class, and I even mentioned in another video, how powerful that contribution margin is, right? What it tells us. It's what's left after we've subtracted variable costs from the selling price, and it goes forward to cover any fixed costs, okay? Conceptually, that's what the contribution margin is. So just by looking at what we have up here so far, one would think that, well, the fishing guard gives me the most contribution margin per unit. I should just focus on producing and selling the fishing guard. Well, that's not totally correct. Why? Because we need to take into account that constrained resource, which is the time on the injection molding machine. Okay? So, to figure out what the CM per unit of the constrained resource is, we're going to take the contribution margin per unit of the ski guard, and we're going to divide it by the time required to make a ski guard on that injection molding machine, which is 2 minutes. We get $70 per unit. That means that the contribution margin per unit of this constrained resource is $70. We do the same exact thing for the golf guard. You take the $160, which is the contribution margin per unit, and divide by the time that it takes us to make a golf guard using this plastic injection molding machine. So we're going to divide by 5 minutes. We get $32. Now, let's look at the fishing guard, right? We said, hey, fishing guard gives us $200 of contribution margin per unit. We should probably produce this one the most. Well, again, we need to take into account the amount of time on the injection molding machine that it takes us to make the fishing guard. So we're going to do the same exact thing. Take your $200 contribution margin for the fishing guard and divide by the time that it takes us to use that injection molding machine to actually make the fishing guard, which is 4. We get $50, okay? So this right here answers the question to number 1, right? Number 1 asks, if we assume that the total time available on the plastic injection molding machine is the constraint in the production process, how much contribution margin per unit of the constrained resource is earned by each product? So the contribution margin per unit of the constrained resource earned from ski guard is $70. The contribution margin per minute of the constrained resource for the golf guard is $32. Again, the contribution margin per unit of the constrained resource for fishing guard is 50. So our answer for number 2, because number 2 says, which product offers the most profitable use of the plastic injection molding machine? Well, that would be the ski guard. Okay? That's our answer to number 2. All right? Again, what are we doing here? Well, what we're trying to do is we're trying to see which of the products provides us with the most contribution margin per minute of the constrained resource. Okay? Now, number 3, they want us to do the same thing, right? But this time in number 3, they say, hey, let's assume that there is a severe shortage of plastic pellets that has required the company to cut back on its production, okay? So we got a choice to make. We have a constrained resource. Which constrained resource, or which product should we focus on producing and selling based on the constrained resource? More specifically, we want to know how much of the contribution per unit of the constrained resource is earned from each product, okay? So nothing has changed from the top other than we identified a new constrained resource, okay? We have a different constrained resource, right? You might be saying, well, what about the time on the machine? That's another assumption. We're not working with that assumption. Forget about that. Right now, we're assuming that, hey, the constrained resource is the number of virgin plastic pellets that we have, okay? We do the same exact thing that we did before, meaning we have to calculate the contribution margin for each unit, okay? Then what we want to do is figure out what is the contribution margin per unit of the constrained resource, which in this case now is the number of pounds of virgin plastic that goes into making either a ski guard, a golf guard, or a fishing guard, okay? So again, ski guard, the selling price, it's still $200, nothing changed. Golf guard, selling price, $300, nothing changed. Fishing guard, selling price, $255. Again, nothing has changed, right? Variable cost per unit for a ski guard is $60. The variable cost per unit for a golf guard is $140. The fishing guard, the variable cost per unit is $55. Okay? We can now go ahead and calculate the contribution margin per unit for each product. Okay? Again, nothing new here. Same numbers. Okay? Now, here's where we get into the nitty-gritty, right? We're answering number 3. Number 3 says, assuming that there's a severe shortage of those plastic pellets, right? We got to cut back production. Which one, meaning which product, provides us with the most contribution margin, in this case, per pound of the constrained resource, okay? So all we have to do is divide. We take the 140 and we divide it by the 7 pounds of plastic that it takes to make a ski guard. We get $20, okay? We're going to do the same thing. Take the contribution margin, divide it by, the contribution margin for the golf guard, and divide it by the plastic injection molding time, the pounds that it takes us to make a golf guard. It takes us 4 pounds of plastic. We see that we get a contribution margin per unit of the constrained resource of $40, okay? Plastic pellets. I just want to change that for us, okay? We're going to do the same thing, right? Fishing guard, contribution margins, $200. We have to divide by the amount of plastic that it takes us to make a fishing guard, because that's our constrained resource. We get $25, okay? So the answer to number 3 is ski guard provides a contribution margin per unit of the constrained resource of $20. The golf guard provides us a contribution margin per unit of the constrained resource of $40. And the fishing guard provides us with a contribution margin per unit of the constrained resource of $25. So the answer to number 4, which asks us, which product has the largest contribution margin per unit of the constrained resource? In this case, it is the golf guard. Okay. That is the answer to number 4. Now, number 5 says, which product has the largest contribution margin per unit? Why wouldn't this product be the most profitable use of the constrained resource in either case? Okay. So here what we're saying is, for number 5, fishing guard provides us with the largest contribution margin per unit, okay, $200, right? But why wouldn't this product be the most profitable use of the constrained resource? Well, it's because we have to look at the numbers, right? And we see that if the constrained resource is the time on the molding machine, right, the fishing guard only provides us with a $50 contribution margin per unit of the constrained resource, okay, which the golf guard provides us more. The golf guard provides us $70 contribution margin per unit of the constrained resource, okay. Same thing with the new constraint. which is the plastic pellets, right? We're analyzing and looking at the same thing, right? Meaning we're looking at the contribution margin. Golf Guard provides us the highest contribution margin per unit of $200. But when we factor in the constrained resource, in this case, the constrained resource is the plastic pellets, the Golf Guard provides us a $25 contribution margin per unit of the constrained resource. The Golf Guard, in this case, provides us with a $40 contribution margin of the constrained resource. Okay? So that, my friends, is how we do a volume trade-off decision. Okay? Next thing we're going to do is look at managing a constrained resource. We're going to see how we do that. So please tune back in for our next video.